Hey, babes. Welcome back to another episode of Bourbon and Heartburn, a Heart on Fire podcast. This is where we talk about dating, friendships, relationships, situationships, healing, and all the messy in-betweens. So today we're going to be talking about first date red flags. You know them. Let's get into it. There's a few things I want to talk about today when it comes to red flags on a first date. I want to talk about those red flags that we explain away. We have an excuse for. The red flags that maybe we see but just choose to ignore, and why we ignore them and why we shouldn't ignore them. The first kind of situation I'll say I want to talk about is there's too much too fast, okay? That is a red flag. It truly is. If it's too much too fast, and I don't mean in a sense of too much as in like you're spending too much time together or having a good time, things like that. Like, that's okay. What I mean is when they're saying things too fast, like, you're so different. I really see a future with you. My mom would love you. Ding, ding, ding. That's a red flag. Please be careful. Like, excitement is good. Excitement's really good. You're going to be excited. You're meeting someone new. You're having a good time. The vibes are there. The drinks are flowing. They look good. You look good. There's flirting. Like, yes, we love that. We love that. Keep that energy going. However, be aware of those little things that they say, like planning trips. Oh, let's go to Europe together. It's like, we are on a first date. You literally don't even know my middle name. I have a story. So not that long ago, I was on a first date with someone that I met on an app, and we are 1 hour into the date, and it was going good. It was really it was a normal first date. I was like, he's handsome, he was kind, like he had been a gentleman so far. But again, we were 1 hour into this date, and he dead seriously looked straight at me and said, "Did you delete your apps yet? Because I did." Sir, I have not even finished my first drink. I think I was halfway through my burger. Red flag. Dead serious. This happened. My God. Anyway, with that, I really kind of had to step back and look and be like, okay, what am I learning from this? Attention and affection, that is not real connection, okay? They're giving you attention, they're giving you affection, they're being flirty with you, yada, yada. That doesn't mean that you guys have this, strong connection, because a real connection, that takes time, not 1 hour into burgers and drinks, okay? And then the other thing that I actually just wrote down today was intensity without consistency is performance. So I am all for that intense passion and all of that. However, that can really be mistaken for true connection. And that right off the bat, that intensity right off the bat, when you don't even know this person, they don't know you, it's most likely it's a performance. So just really be aware of that. I also want to talk about the future faking I mentioned a little bit ago. I said, they're trying to plan a trip to Europe with you on a first date. That's fun. It's fun to talk fantasy. It is so fun. I'm a Pisces, so I love to dream. I am a dreamer girl through and through, okay? I love to make up little fairy tales in my head. I do. I think I'll always be like this. But at some point, you got to come back down to reality, okay? And if you're truly trying to build something with someone, living in fairy tale land all the time, probably not a good base for a relationship. So if they're trying to plan a trip to Europe, if they're trying to get you to meet, they're like, oh, I can't wait for you to meet my family on a first date. We're planning future vacations. No. Let's talk about your favorite place that you would love to vacation. What's your number one bucket list spot that you want to go travel to? Absolutely. And if they happen to be the same place, cool, acknowledge that. But we don't need to jump to these future things when you don't know this person. Again, that brings me to, excitement. Excitement's okay. Okay? Excitement's okay. I also want to talk about the man who literally hates every woman. What is this epidemic of just like, and it happens with women too, don't get me wrong. Women just man haters. And we aren't man haters here, for the record. My platform is not man hating. We love people, okay? But we're still going to call bullshit out, and we're going to call out when people are terrible, and we're going to create self-awareness. I just want to side note that. Anyway, a man who hates every woman, if he's out here saying things like, oh, she was psycho, oh, she's crazy, toxic, obsessed with me, if he's bringing up his exes immediately, talking about they're the problem, if every ex is the problem, it's like, what was your role? You know, what role did you have, Mr. Perfect? Definitely a red flag. Another personal story I have with that is, so I was on a date with a guy. It was actually a second date, but still a little bit on the first date, but mostly on the second date. He immediately talked about his exes, like plural. He immediately talked about his exes, and he even told me their names. Well, his most recent ex, he told me her name, and like she was just crazy and yada, 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 obsessive, controlling, which might have been true. I don't know. However, I investigated, obviously. If you're going to give me names, I'm a look. I looked. This girl was 7 months pregnant, and they had only been broken up for like roughly that amount of time. Okay, like maybe not even like 6 months, 5 months. I don't know, something around there. So there's that. He claimed he didn't know. I really don't think he knew that she was pregnant. But he also didn't know if it was his or if he was cheated on. So needless to say, I kind of ended it there. But that was when I was like, oh, that was hindsight. That might have been a red flag. Chaos. And honestly, if you pay attention when you're on these dates, especially in the beginning, like the first few dates, like if you pay attention, men will tell on themselves. They literally will tell on themselves. Like if they're constantly like, I hate drama, oh, like women are so obsessed with me, females are crazy, or this one, women only want money. This irks me. This really irks me. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there are a lot of women out there that only care about that. And fine, more power to you, babe. However, you say this to me on a first or second date, honey, I don't want your $47 in your checking account and your unresolved childhood trauma. Thank you. I can take care of myself. Okay? However, of course I want someone to provide for me. Like, I need a provider. I can provide for myself. I 100% can provide for myself. However, I need someone that's able to provide and step up. That's all I need to say on that. But you have to pay attention to how they talk about women in general. Like, that is huge. How do they talk about women? How do they talk about their mother, their sister? How do they talk about women? And then this one, obviously, like, this is modern day. We all have phones. Phones are our literal lives. It's just the reality of the time that we live in. I wish I could be dating in the time that my parents were in and they would call each other's home phones. I do sometimes. But there's a few things, and I feel like it's like we all kind of know this, but if their phone is down, face down, okay. Could be not, whatever. But if they jump when it lights up, and if this is like a continued, I was like, first date, I just think you should be off your phone. Obviously, if there's an emergency, of course, but like communicate that. But like you should just be off your phone because constant texting when you're with someone, I hate this. Anyone who knows me knows that I hate this. If you are on your phone while you're with me, like constantly, and you're constantly distracted, and I'm trying to talk to you and make conversation, if you don't have a good reason and you're not explaining, I am out. I have literally left a date because of this. I hate it. I hate it. Such a red flag to me. Such a red flag. And honestly, like if they're on a first date with you and they're distracted all night by their phone and they're on their phone constantly and there's not some emergency going on, Ma'am, you are not the only contestant on this season. Because honestly, like being present, it matters. Presence matters. And that goes for all relationships. Our time is currency. So putting that energy in and our time, like that is your currency. And if you're putting that energy and time in and someone's on their freaking phone the whole time, nah. You're not present with me. So get out of my presence. This next one is communication. So communication, obviously, I think it's such a buzzword now. I think people just love being like, communication is so important. Communication is the best. Like I notice on dating apps, like 9 out of 10 people have communication is key, or number one thing is non-negotiable is communication. And I'm sorry, but also 9 times out of 10, those people don't know how to communicate. As soon as they're put in a situation to communicate, they don't properly communicate. So some red flags on that. If they barely text you before you are scheduled to go on a date, I think that's a red flag. Like there has to be some sort of communication. We don't need to talk all day. I hate that. I'm too grown for that. I have shit to do. I'm busy and I want to have shit to talk about. But if you barely text me at all before we have a scheduled date, red flag. Also, if they're not texting you before a date, but then in person they act like you're soulmates, be wary. Also, we know this, like this should be a given, but I hate that I have to even say it. But if they're disappearing for days, my rule of thumb is if you can go 24 hours without talking to me, you can go the rest of your life. I'm good. And then the biggest just ick is I've been busy. If I hear a man tell me I'm busy or I've been busy one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. I have dated the busiest man in the world. I swear he was so busy and that man still communicated with me. So you can do it if you really want to. It takes 2 seconds to send a text message. Honestly, if you're looking in the big grand scheme of things, confusing communication at the beginning is probably going to equal larger issues later on. Just saying. You shouldn't have to teach someone how to communicate. I mean, you can tell them what you need, and then of course they should be able to adjust if they really care for you and you really matter to them. They want to keep you in their lives. Also, small things really do matter. They matter. Small things matter. I am huge on watching how someone treats like the server. That matters. It's a character thing. We're now getting into character. So if they're treating the server kindly and they talk and they say please and they have manners, literal, just normal human decency manners. Good. If not, red flag. Red flag. Also, if you're talking with someone and you're like vibing, you're chatting with them, but they keep interrupting you to talk about themselves or just interrupting you in general. I know I got ADHD. Don't get me wrong, okay? But it comes to a point where you should be able to, at our big age, you should be able to be like, oh gosh, I interrupted you. I apologize. Or be able to just kind of like compartmentalize what you want to say when they're done talking and listen to them. Because that's how a conversation exists. You go back and forth. You don't always have to have the last word in, and you're going to get a moment to say something. And if you don't, the other person's talking too much, then that's when you need to have that conversation. Again, we're back to communication. If they only talk about themselves, this is hard. I love listening to people talk about themselves. I do. However, if you aren't asking me questions back, it's a red flag. It's also just such a turnoff for me. Just a few days ago, actually, I was on a date and I did have to say to the guy, I said, you keep interrupting me and you're not really asking me questions back. And he was really apologetic in the moment and like felt really bad. And I could tell he was trying to be more like aware of it. So, communicate. But I think the biggest thing too is to ask yourself, like, do I truly feel comfortable? Do I feel comfortable in this space? Do I feel comfortable having a back and forth conversation with this person? How do you feel? Trust your body. Our bodies tell us so much. Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling tension in your body? Are you exhausted after you hang out with them? Do you go home and feel so exhausted? that's a sign. Listen to your body. Your body is key to everything. It is the key to your nervous system tells you how you're feeling around this person and after you're with this person, and how much, after you exude your energy with someone, how do you feel? Pay attention to those things. If you are trusting your body and being aware of your body, it should go from the question of did they like me? Do they like me? To do I like how I feel when I'm around them? That's huge. It's so huge. I do want to talk about some like funny red flags that, I don't know, maybe these are just me. I don't think they are. I feel like I've heard women talk about this stuff. I know there's a big trend right now with like the alpha male, and I am not saying that like an alpha male is a bad thing, but I do think there's like a negative side that has been kind of a niche thing, just the alpha male. And that to me can be a red flag, because then with the alpha male thing, we got toxic masculinity and all that, and unresolved trauma and narcissism, things like that. So I just think it's sometimes can be a red flag for sure. I think you need to be aware of it and really peel it apart first to decide, what am I dealing with? Also, someone who says females all the time. Oh my God. If you keep referring to women as females every time you're speaking, I'm out. I'm out. Also, this is huge for me. This has been for as long as I've dated. If you ask me about my body count and try to have this conversation about body count, no. That is just a recipe for disaster. We're not doing this. It does not matter. There's no right answer. We're not having this conversation. This just creates issues. Whether you act like you're cool or not, we're good. We don't need to have that conversation. We are in the present. Be in the present. Let's not talk about the past. And then I talked about like being rude to staff. That's huge for me. Another one, my last one, is like an aggressive driver. Chill. Like, this is not Fast and Furious. Like, calm down. Who are you trying to impress? Oh my gosh. And I know we ignore some of these red flags for multiple reasons, Me personally, I struggle because I see the best in people. I see potential in people. We all have potential, but the truth of the matter is you can't fall in love with potential, okay? People are where they are, and they are who they are, and then they either have the capacity to grow and want to grow, or they don't. And you can't force someone to do that. So it is important that you pay attention to these little things. It really is. All in all, I think it's important to just stop trying to be chosen. Stop trying to force things, and stop trying to be like, oh, I'm doing all these things, like I'm accepting them for who they am, like why won't they choose me? Stop trying to be chosen and just start choosing yourself. I think the moment that you start truly choosing yourself is when someone will choose you organically, and you won't even realize it's happening. Also, romanticizing confusion. I think that's huge. That one I need to write down and put on my forehead, literally, because a lot of times I've found myself being so confused, and then I'm romanticizing it and giving excuses that don't need to be there. And there's just no reason for that. Accept the confusion for what it is and move on from it. Don't ignore the red flags. Assess them, address them, but don't ignore them. And above all, don't shrink your standards. I think we all do this sometimes. We want to be wanted. Sue me, I want to be wanted. I love that song. We want to be wanted. We want to feel chosen. And so sometimes we shrink our standards without even realizing it. And there is a fine line between compromising with someone that you've built something with, of course, but that still should not be you shrinking your standards and changing your standards, because you're never going to be happy if you do that. So all in all today, I just think it's important to pay attention to those red flags. And they're not orange, babe. They're not pink. them bitches are red. So take the extra time, assess them. It's okay. Please do that. Take the extra time and like really be aware of your body and how you feel, because you deserve that. You deserve to put your energy and your time into someone that is going to prosper and value you, okay? And I know we talked about red flags today, and they're there, that's for sure, but I don't want to ignore the fact that there are also green flags. So next episode, we're going to be talking about green flags on a first date. So tune in, and I'll see you in the next episode.